Representative Walsh, you've taken a controversial stand on two particular policy issues. One involves vaccinations and the other child car seats. Can you explain your position on both of those?
Sure. Something we see happening in Olympia all the time, too much, is bills that mean to do well and mean to help people in their lives end up doing worse and hurting people and limiting people's choices in their lives. And what we've had with a couple of bills, frankly, that have sort of followed headlines in a way that is never a great idea. Public policy shouldn't follow headlines, specific headlines. We've got these bills that mean well, they mean to do well, but they end up, in my opinion, having the reverse effect. They end up having an unintended consequence that cuts against the original spirit of what they sought out to do. One of them that has been to the floor of the House already is a bill that put some really unnecessary, in my opinion, regulations and restraints on how parents need to seat their kids in cars. The state already had some statute and some guidelines on best practices for parents and how old kids needed to be when they were in a baby car seat and then a booster seat after that. And this bill actually extended a lot of that to the point where kids as old as 12 and as tall as almost 5 feet tall need to be in a booster seat. And I just thought it was too much. The existing standards that we already had provided safety for children in cars. And this bill, I'm not sure, it was intended to help kids, make them more safe, but I'm not sure it really achieves that. It just puts another level of demands on what parents do, or grandparents, when they put the kid in the car. And I thought it was unnecessary. And it begins a sort of regulatory bureaucratic creep where whatever the standard is, isn't enough. We need to do more, we need to do more. And I'm not certain that this new bill is going to actually make any individual Washington child any safer, but it's going to give parents another thing they can get a ticket for. So I was against that. And in a similar vein, we have a bill which we actually haven't voted yet on in the House that viewers may know about that makes vaccines, the MMR vaccine, which includes measles and mumps, mandatory and gets rid of the handful of exemptions that there used to be to getting children vaccinated with those vaccines. And traditionally in our state, there have been a handful of grounds on which a parent can object to that, either religious or non-religious, health-related, and they can not have their child immunized. Lately, because of the measles outbreak that took place in the Vancouver, Washington area, there's been a great deal of controversy on this issue. And there's a move afoot to get rid of those exemptions, so every child must be vaccinated with that MMR vaccine. Now, my wife and I, we vaccinated all 5 of our kids. And so I believe in vaccination, but some people don't, either for religious or other personal reasons. And I think the state should recognize a parent's right to object conscientiously to vaccinating their children. Now, like I say, it's a tough policy point because I personally believe in vaccination. But I think we get in a slippery slope area when we require by law that all families do this. I think we need to trust parents, we need to trust families, and we need to give them some latitude in how they raise their kids. So I'm opposed to that bill too, the bill which would require all children to be vaccinated, even though personally I believe in vaccination.
In August of this year, there are going to be several changes to the regulations set by now the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And several child care workers will be told that they need to go back to school in order to provide services. Why is this something that you're against?
Yeah, this is another tough issue. The state has implemented a program it calls Early Achievers, which sets a bunch of standards for daycare, preschool daycare now. We're talking about watching little kids. And really a lot of people in the industry who run daycare facilities believe that this early achievers program, at least the way that it's being implemented, is really designed to squeeze private daycare facilities out of business by requiring, as you mentioned, very specific education requisites to people who work in a daycare, and other things too. A number of requirements on how they run their daycare facility in order to be part of that program and receive state resources, state money to help run their daycares. And I've spoken with a number of people who run daycare facilities in my district, from large ones that watch dozens of kids to small ones that watch half a dozen. And they are universally opposed to what the state agencies are doing by requiring these education standards and other standards on the employees working at the daycare. And I think that it is another case of creep, bureaucratic creep, where whatever is standard isn't enough and we have to do more, we have to do more. And in this case, I really think it's having a bad effect on daycare centers and limiting the choices available to parents for sending their kid to daycare. So I'm opposed to this too, and I am actually working with a handful of daycare facilities in my district to come up with some legislation that will ease the pressure on private daycares.